Do you pick the right sound for the chords that you are actually playing? And how do you deep learn the chords of a tune? And how do you dig into a difficult part of a chord progression? How do you really get to learn this difficult part? If you're having any of these thoughts about your playing and your practice, this video is for you. Let's jump right into it and start with how we work out the chords. When I pick a new tune I want to learn, I align my technical practice with the key of the tune. I look at the key of the tune and then I make up different exercises. I think, hey, this will enhance my playing on this tune. And then I practice these in my technical practice. In this way it gets into my ears and the physical movement of my fingers. We have the tune of stomping at the Savoy in E flat for the tenor. So I choose the E flat major key and then I play the arpeggios, for example. Another great exercise is taking the most common chords in the tune and then I compose small similar licks on all the chords. I make these licks similar because then I can move the melodic structure around on these chords, and this gives you a great musical advantage when you're soloing. In any tune we play, there are always some difficult passages of chord progressions. In Stomping at the Savoy is the bridge, and this part of the tune is a dragon. This half-step dominant movement is quite challenging, both to get into your fingers and your ears. I go into this chord progression by simply playing the chords up and down, just making a very simple exercise, playing these chords up and down. So why do I make a simple chord exercise? Because then I do not need to think about the chords. I only think about the sound and my technique. You can take this exercise slow, just play it a lot of times till you feel comfortable, and then speed up. When you have the sound in your ears and the technique in your fingers, playing through, soloing through the chord progression becomes so much easier. And slowly you can move the exercise into a more solo-like sound. When you want these licks and these exercises and you really want to dig deeper into this material, I recommend you to check out the lesson manual on Patreon. Download the PDF through the link right below in the description. Now we actually moved into the next topic, how to practice the chord sounds. Let's jump back to the A part of this tune. The whole A part is in E flat major, why I'm practicing E flat technique. The E flat major in itself, if you only play E flat major, becomes a little bit boring. So you actually have chord progressions that are moving towards the E flat major because you want to make this E flat major alive, you want to make it moving, and you really do not want to sound stationary like just E flat major. When you make this E flat major move, your solo will sound so much more interesting. For example, this little line, it's all E flat major, but you clearly hear that the second half of the first bar is leading into the second bar, the E flat. So what I'm saying is that the chord sound is not only the chord sound, it's all these small melodies that leads from the chord sound into the chord sound again. So this part in between, that's what you want to add. In this line you also hear these leading melodies. So the sound of E flat major or any chord is just not only the chord, it's also these leading parts leading into the chord again, going back home. If you want to dig into these leading parts of the sound, you need to check out Coltrane's 1, 2, 3, 5 patterns. They are extremely nice to use for leading parts. Let me give you an example here. When listening to this whole line, it makes completely sense, it's just E flat major. But looking a little bit closer to this line, the second part of the first bar is leading into the second bar. And in the second bar you have the E flat major again. So this C minor 1, 5, 4, 3 pattern leads into the next pattern, the G minor pattern. And in the second half of the second bar, you have an F minor pattern leading into the last bar, that E flat. So within the bars, not just to run up that E flat major scale or E flat major key, I add these small leading tones into the E flat major key. Those are the other tones of E flat major, if you know what I mean. I want to get into this topic, how to pick the right scales for the chords we are playing. And this can be really challenging because there are so many sounds and so many scales out there. There's only one rule to this, and it's your ears tells you what sounds you like. Almost all of the tune Stomping at the Savoy is in the E flat major key. And in all this E flat major, I would just play E flat major or the different functions in the key of E flat major. There's only one place I want to change the sound, and that's on the E diminished 7 chord in the 4th bar. That E diminished 7 chord goes into the F minor 7 chord. So what is actually that E diminished 7 chord? That's a dominant chord. That's a C7 flat 9 dominant, and that's where I want to change the scale. When we make this E7 diminished chord into a C7 flat 9 chord, we get the dominant function, the C to the F. And now the C7 just becomes a secondary dominant. My obvious choice of scale is playing the F minor Dorian on the F minor, of course. But on that C7 I want to play harmonic minor. F harmonic minor. So the dominant will become a C7 flat 9 flat 13. So with the D flat and the A flat in it. The D flat is the flat 9 and the A flat is the flat 13. And the flat 9 leads beautifully into the 5th of the F minor 7, the C. And that A flat, that's the natural 3rd of the F minor, but it also leads into the 9th of that F minor 9 chord. When you want this sound into your playing, I have added loads of licks into the lesson manual on Patreon. You can download the deep dive lesson, find the link below in the description. About choosing the right scales for the chords, there are tons of options. I want to give you the tritone substituted dominant scale. This full lick is the tritone substituted dominant going into that F minor 7. Here I play the tritone substituted dominant, the F sharp 7, but with a sharp 11. The sharp 11 in the F sharp 7 scale is a C. That C beautifully connects into the F minor, but it's also the root, the C7 of the common dominant. So the C gives me some common ground between the F minor and the tritone substituted dominant, which is really altered. When you want to dig into more of these exercises, more of these examples and more of these licks, I really recommend you to check out the lesson manual on Patreon. There's a full description of everything. It's just grab and go. Add it into your own playing and play some beautiful licks. On Patreon I'm also ready to help you with questions in the chat. If you have any questions about your music, your playing, some exercises or some licks you are wondering about, let me know and we can figure it out. Download the lesson manual right now, go to Patreon, the download link is below in the description. You must be able to do what's in the next video to play jazz, because this is one of the shortcuts to learning jazz. So I would recommend everybody to check out this video, the only shortcut in jazz. Play music, have fun.